That has been the best business decision I've made. I get a lot of top clients finding me because I have solid SEO for that keyword.
In this video, I have Jennifer Goforth Gregory, a freelance content marketing writer and author of the Freelance Content Marketing Writer, which was just named one of Amazon's hottest new releases. In this video, you'll learn how she became a freelance content writer with no experience and what she did along the way to build a freelance content writing business. This is part 1 of a 3-part video series. Make sure to check out the other videos that are linked in the description below. Listen to the end of this video to learn the key tip on how she was able to reach a 6-figure income. And if you're new here, welcome to the Side Hustle Life channel, where I interview successful entrepreneurs and learn how they built their business so that we can apply the same lessons towards building side hustles of our own. So if you're new here, consider subscribing so that you never miss a video, because you're only one side hustle away from creating a life you want. And if you think this business model is a good fit for you, make sure to get the How to Become a Freelance Content Writer with No Experience starter guide in the description below. In today's show, I'm joined by Jennifer Goforth Gregory. Jennifer, please come on and tell us a little bit more about what you do.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm a freelance content marketing writer. And what that means is I write infographics, blog posts, articles, white papers, ebooks for companies. A lot of what I do is for large tech companies. So currently this week I've been working with Experian and Adobe and IBM and doing both of those have been white papers or blogs.
So how did you get into this field, this kind of career?
So I was a technical writer in my past life, and I was terrible at it. It's actually different than technology content marketing writing. And I stayed home to have kids. I worked at IBM as a software engineer and as a writer, and took some time off when I had kids. And when I came back, I wanted to use my skills and start a business, also be able to earn a good income. So when they went back to school, when they started school, I started writing. It took a couple years to turn it into a good income. It didn't happen overnight for me, but in the last couple years, I've routinely broke 6 figures. It wasn't an overnight success by any stretch. It was a lot of years of working hard.
Can you give us an idea of like that growth and like what was the first year like, and how much did it grow by between then and today? And like give us an idea of that timeline.
So now we're at 10 years, probably 20,000 the first, and that was 2008 that I started. 2015 was when I broke 6 figures the first time. I wasn't necessarily trying to make 6 figures when I had a 5 and a 6-year-old. So as my kids grew, my income grew as well because I had more time.
So this goal of 6 figures, I think anyone out there that is thinking about getting into freelance content writing is obviously a great milestone to hit, right? You're making great living. You're doing something on your own. You own your own business, and you're obviously enjoying it. What do you think? What do you think you hit along the way that allowed you to be able to hit that 6 figures? It's a pretty lofty goal. You know, what do you think you did right along the way to get you there?
I think one was that I specialized. I figured out a niche that I had that I could market myself. And for me, it's translating geek to real people. I'm not a geek, but I can talk and have worked with software engineers my entire life. So it's figuring out your strength and your expertise and marketing yourself that way. I think for me, it was only working with nice people because I was able to be more productive and less stressed and get more done and just be a happier person. The year that I invoked the only work with nice people rule was weirdly enough when I started making 6 figures. The other is treating it like a business. I'm a business owner. I'm not just a freelancer. I'm not just a hobbyist. I own a business. I invest in my business. I make business decisions. That took a big transition for me. That wasn't something you just get to. And I think especially as a woman, sometimes when you think you're doing it on the side, it takes a while to think it as a business. And I wish I had gotten to that point sooner. And that included investing in a professionally designed website. That included going to industry conferences, things that business owners do. And the other thing was I'm a terrible negotiator. Recognizing that and figuring out how to be a better negotiator and also how to drop lower paying clients and not just take along what comes my way. But really, when I get a new client, it's not just, hey, please hire me. It's, are you the best fit for my business? Actively making that decision.
That makes sense. So you mentioned that one of the first things you said was that you try to focus on a niche that worked for you. How did you discover what was your niche? How did you discover that what was your advantage in this space?
For me, it was that I had worked as a technical writer in software companies for 10 years before I had kids. Even though the technology had evolved, I understood how to work with technical experts and how to ask the questions and how to build that rapport. It has to be something that interests you. And too many people have told me that they want to go into finance or tech because it pays well. And you can't do that. It just doesn't work. Whatever you do has to be authentic to you, or it just doesn't really work. So you have to figure out your strengths, what you're good at, and what you're passionate about. So I think to me, that's really the key. What works for me isn't going to work for you or the next person, but it's finding that unique match.
Got it. So now once you figured out your niche, you figured out where's your advantage, you mentioned that you have to market yourself in that niche. So what steps do you recommend people take to make sure they stand out and are able to be discovered as a content writer in that niche?
So one of the things that I did really right, I didn't know it at the time, was in 2013, I started a blog, and I remember thinking, hey, I'll name it Content Marketing Writer for SEO purposes, which I really didn't know what I was doing at the time, but that has been the best business decision I've made. I get a lot of top clients finding me because I have solid SEO for that keyword. I fluctuated depending on what mood Google's in and what algorithm they've done. I go between 1 and 3 for the content marketing writer keyword. And having a solid LinkedIn preference is also, I think that personal connections are exceptionally important, especially in this digital world. People want to work with people that they know. I've gotten several good clients from my neighbors. It's talking about what you do to the people that know and trust you. And also, I do a lot of networking. I'm secretary for the American Society of Journalists and Authors. A lot of networking with other writers, because other writers will pass on my name to editors they're working with, and I'll do the same. I actually have gotten the most work from networking with other people that do what I do, because they hear of the jobs. You were often asked, are there other freelancers that you trust? And so you pass them on. So I think there's a passive marketing and an active marketing. And I think it's important to have both. And for active marketing, when I was just getting started out, I sent out letters of introduction to people that I thought were looking for my skills. And we'll talk a little bit about exactly how to identify those people. I have some practical tips. I think that personal connections and networking are the most effective ways to land new clients. But you can't do that all the time. It's just not feasible. So there also is some cold marketing. And so I was sending out letters of introduction, and people would tell me, I tried to get into content marketing writing, but it didn't work. And my question is, well, how many letters of introduction? And they'll say 12. Well, 12's not enough. It's 50, it's 100, it's following up. Any side hustle, not just writing, but you have to be persistent, and you have to believe in yourself, and you have to build the business the way that works for your own personality, strengths, and goals. Other people are making a crap ton of money out there. Why can't it be you? And I think you have to have that attitude at every moment.
That makes sense. So this writing for your blog was one of the first things you mentioned. And I think once you become a busy writer, right, you almost don't have time to focus going back into investing in writing for your own blog. How often do you recommend, or how often were you writing for your own blog to build up that SEO, build up that kind of credibility in the marketplace for your niche?
I've stayed with once a week pretty consistently. Sometimes I'll get lazy in the summers, but I also now solicit a guest post and pay them an honorarium from other freelance writers, and I save them for the weeks that I don't have the time or inclination. And this summer, I've actually admitted to myself that I'm probably not going to write that much on my blog. So I've got guest posts lined up every other week to help that. So it's kind of anticipating that as well. But I think also the key is that I love my blog. I love my readers. So it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like marketing. It's sharing what I learned with my friends is kind of how I view it. You don't want to do something that feels like work, or you don't do it.
That makes sense. Okay, so let's get into the meat of this, which is how to actually get a job. Before we get into that, thanks for watching. Now, the question of the day to you is, if you were a freelance content writer, what would your niche be? What would you be focused on writing in? For me, it would be probably around something entrepreneurial, something about entrepreneurs and startups and building businesses. Comment below with what your niche would be. And if you think this business of freelance content writing is a good fit for you, make sure to get the How to Become a Freelance Content Writer with No Experience starter guide in the description below. To learn more about side hustles or specifically about freelance content writing, make sure to check out the rest of the videos in this series or the other videos on this channel.